Welcome, and thanks for joining us for more information regarding the changes to the single registration procedures for Coonhounds at United Kennel Club. My name is Todd Kellam. I'm the Executive Vice President of United Kennel Club, located in Kalamazoo, Michigan. With the help of this narrated PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to explain to you some of the upcoming changes to our single registration procedures as they apply to Coonhounds only. The following material was presented to representatives of the UKC Chartered Coonhound Breed Associations at this year's Autumn Oaks. And before we get started, I would like to thank the UKC staff with special appreciation to Corey Groover for all the time and effort spent on this project. So let's get started. I think it's important to realize that when we started this project back in April of 2014, our only goal was to standardize the single registration process at United Kennel Club for Coonhounds. It had evolved to the point where there was no consistency amongst the Coonhound breeds regarding single registration rules and policies. There were different fees, there were different time frames for which single registration was open, and many different requirements depending on the breed of dog being registered. So it was increasingly difficult in-house to administer a single registration program that was not consistent. So our goal was to standardize the program but still allow chartered breed associations to determine if they would be open or closed to bringing in single registered dogs. As we more closely looked at the dogs being brought in through the single registration process, UKC determined that classifying all single registered dogs as a purebred breed was not accurate because of known crossbreds and dogs of unknown ancestry. So as we started to develop these ideas in-house, but before we had gotten too far, we approached our customers to see what they had to say. We were not only interested in the customer's opinion, but it would also be a chance to investigate any concerns that we had not thought of. Pages and pages of message board discussion, both for and against the idea of cross-breeding Coonhounds, could be found on the UKC website. We very much appreciated all the feedback and considered it all in making our final decisions. After much discussion, UKC decided to create a new category for Coonhounds, which will bridge the gap between single registered dogs and those considered a purebred recognized breed. That category will now be called X-BRED. Keep in mind this is a category, not a breed. This is something I did not realize and found interesting. Did you know, and this is an excerpt from a UKC Coonhound single registration application that dates way back, one that was still currently in use. It said, option 1, for single registration of a crossbred dog or a dog of unknown ancestry, if allowed by the breed association. Dog must first meet criteria below or single registration will not be considered by UKC. So the idea of registration of crossbred dogs is not a new one at United Kennel Club. It is an example of something that was being handled with no consistency in the past and something that we thought we could improve on. Okay, to expand a little on the X-BRED Goals, this program will standardize single registration. We will now have the same procedures for qualifying dogs. The program will more accurately categorize the types of single registered Coonhounds. We still single register purebred Coonhounds in addition to X-BRED Coonhounds. The program should give our customers a more honest avenue for registration of Coonhounds. And the program may increase the health, longevity, and performance of our stock for those wishing to outcross for performance reasons. In theory, it keeps our purebred breeds more pure while allowing outside blood to be brought in under a more controlled process. So how did we arrive at the name X-BRED? Remember, X is a standard symbol for the unknown, as in an algebra equation. X is also a symbol to indicate a known cross. Crossbred was not an option because not all the dogs brought into single registration are crossbred. So it was felt that the term X-BRED most accurately described the hounds that will be involved in the program. So let's look at some examples of what will be considered X-BRED. The resulting cross of two UKC recognized Coonhound breeds would be X-BRED. For instance, a black and tan bred to a Tring Walker. The resulting offspring of any X-BRED to X-BRED cross will still be X-BRED. The resulting offspring of any X-BRED to purebred crosses will be X-BRED. Any Coonhound of unknown ancestry comes in as an X-BRED. Any Coonhound of known ancestry not eligible for UKC litter registration and not registered with another registry. An example of that would be generations of grade dogs that someone has bred but were not registered with an acknowledged registry nor United Kennel Club. Those dogs, even though their ancestry is known, would come in as X-BRED. Purebred Coonhounds with disqualification pertaining to color may be registered as X-BREDs. An example of that would be two registered blue ticks that throw red tick colored offspring, which is not uncommon. Solid colored Plott hounds, maybe two red bones that throw a black and tan colored pup. Those dogs will be eligible to be registered as X-BRED. The only breeds eligible to be used in an X-BRED program are the 7 recognized Coonhound breeds. And the interesting thing about this slide is it does show you the abbreviations that will be used for each breed on X-BRED pedigrees. Let's look at some of the rules and policies concerning the X-BRED program. X-BRED Coonhounds may be litter registered. X-BRED Coonhounds may compete in licensed night hunts, field trials, and water races in all the performance events. X-BRED Coonhounds may not compete in licensed bench shows or conformation events. Remember, that's because X-BRED is not a breed. It has no breed standard. It is a category. X-BRED Coonhounds will be eligible for the performance program. We want the people hunting X-BRED dogs to have the same incentives as others. X-BRED Coonhounds will not be eligible for breed awards at UKC licensed events, such as high-scoring dogs of breed. Again, that's because X-BRED is not a breed, it's a category. X-BRED Coonhounds will be eligible for top 10 and historical reproducers lists. Purebred Coonhounds being used in X-BRED litters will have all progeny combined on UKC registration records. We did consider tracking the purebred and X-BRED pups separate, but was afraid it would be misleading and confusing. So they will have all pups, purebred and X-BRED, combined on the registration records, pad pedigrees, etc. X-BREDs will be eligible to apply for re-entry to purebred status after achieving an 80% purebred coefficiency. Now that 80% is a level that was determined by UKC's geneticists, and I'll have more information to follow on that. Charter breed associations will determine whether to allow re-entry of X-BRED Coonhounds via breed transfers. This is being consistent with the past practice to allow charter breed associations to open or close single registration. So X-BREDs will be eligible to apply for re-entry to purebred status after achieving 80% purebred coefficiencies. Let's look at some examples of this. In this slide, a Tring Walker male is bred to a red bone female. That offspring would be considered X-BRED. It is 50% Walker, 50% red bone. Is it accurate to consider this dog either a red bone or a Tring Walker, regardless of its color? Now let's say that X-BRED Coonhound is bred back into the red bone breed to a red bone female. Those pups, still considered X-bred, would technically be 25% tree and walker and 75% red bone. This is an example of a dog that is still not eligible for breed transfer. Now let's say that second generation X-bred male is again bred back to a red bone female. This slide gives you a good example of what 87% red bone, 13% tree and walker would look like. And this offspring, X-bred offspring, would be eligible for breed transfer if the breed association is open for breed transfer and the dog meets the standard for that breed. In this example, we see an X-bred dog that is bred back to a breed not consistent with one of its parents. The original X-bred dog in this example was out of a tree and walker blue tick cross, and those X-bred pups, one of those males, was bred back into the English Coonhound line. So after 3 generations, where the previous example was eligible to re-enter as a breed, this pup, after 3 generations, is still 13% tree and walker, 13% blue tick, 74% English Coonhound, so therefore not eligible for breed transfer. This slide shows an example of a dog that was transferred into X-bred for a breed color disqualification. Off-colored dog becomes X-bred and not eligible to show, but eligible for performance events. When that dog is bred back to a female from its own breed, those offspring are still 100% of the breed in question and eligible for re-entry, again, if re-entry is open by the breed association, and 2, the dog in question does meet the breed standards. Okay, let's talk more about breed transfer. The chartered breed associations will control whether it be open or closed to breed transfers annually. We assume this will be decided on at their breed days events, but regardless, United Kennel Club will be notified by the chartered breed associations annually whether their breed is open or closed to breed transfer. Dogs become eligible based on pedigree for breed transfer after meeting the 80% purebred coefficiency mark. Pedigrees will indicate a dog does meet the 80% purebred coefficiency requirement once they get to that point. The owner of a breed transfer eligible dog must submit proper paperwork to UKC with associated fees. UKC will either approve or deny said applicant based on whether or not the dog meets the breed standards and all other rules are met. The breed transfer fee is currently set at $50, $25 of which goes to UKC and $25 to the Chartered Breed Association, and that's consistent with how we did single registration in the past. And dogs transferred from X-bred to purebred will retain championship points and degrees. Okay, something that's exclusive to X-bred pedigrees is that any UKC registered coonhound in the pedigree of an X-bred dog will have the breed's abbreviation printed next to the dog's UKC registration number. So when you look at a pedigree, an X-bred pedigree, you will be able to determine the breeds present in that dog's ancestry. And we looked at it on a previous slide, but here again are the breed abbreviations that will be used for the 7 coonhound breeds. So I mentioned earlier that coonhounds could be single registered as either a purebred or an X-bred. An example of a way that a coonhound is brought in as a purebred is for those dogs of a UKC recognized breed with UKC registered parents that were eligible for UKC litter registration but have reached the age of 1 year old and are no longer eligible to be litter registered. those dogs do come in as a purebred, and that's no change to the way we've always done it. You also have dogs registered as a recognized breed with another UKC accepted registry, but not registered with United Kennel Club. Those dogs may be single registered in as a purebred, and that is also not a change. And then, as we've been discussing, dogs applying for X-BRED status. And this all goes back to being more accurate in the way we classify single registered dogs as either being purebred or X-BRED. Regardless of whether a dog comes in as a purebred or an X-BRED through single registration, the parameters are the same. UKC will determine all single registration rules, policies, and procedures. This is slightly different, as that used to be determined by the charter breed associations. All single registration fees are currently $35. Now, this is not to be confused with a breed transfer fee, but all single registration fees are $35. As a special note, performance evaluations are no longer required as part of the application process. In closing, this new single registration program is scheduled to begin on January 1st, 2015. Forms will soon be available on the UKC website at www.ukcdogs.com. I hope it's clear after reviewing the details of the changes made to single registration of Coonhounds that these changes were made with a goal to standardize the single registration process, more accurately categorize the types of single registered Coonhounds, to give our customers a more honest avenue for registering Coonhounds, and to increase the health, longevity, and performance of our stock. I do want to add that UKC is not promoting the crossbreeding of Coonhounds. It is now an option to Coonhound breeders. This statement is no different than the fact that we do not promote the use of dual-sired litters, even though that is also an option to breeders. We are attempting to more accurately and efficiently maintain your dog records. We will continue to work with owners and breeders by offering creative ways to help improve the health and performance of the Coonhound breeds. If you do have any questions pertaining to the information in this program, you may contact us at United Kennel Club, either by phone or through the website, and we'll be glad to answer any questions you have. And I do want to thank you for your support of United Kennel Club and our programs, and for joining us in this presentation. Thank you.